Welcome to Lo-Fi Stories. I'm Harry, and I'll be your quiet guide through tonight's mystery. Before we begin, take a breath, settle in, and tell me, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Let's begin. Evelyn and Mycroft face off. Evelyn Holmes had never been summoned before. Not like this. The envelope bore no return address. Only a wax seal pressed in the shape of a crown. Inside, a single sentence. Whitehall, discretion, noon. M. Holmes. She hadn't spoken to her brother Mycroft in years. Not since their last disagreement over what made a mind truly brilliant, logic or humanity. But something about the ink, hurried yet precise, told her this wasn't formality. It was urgency. Therefore, Evelyn packed her notebook, slipped on her green coat, and boarded the early train to London. On the journey, she watched rain blur the countryside. She wrote names she remembered from Mycroft's old circles. She wondered if Sherlock would approve. She doubted it mattered. Whitehall was all shadows and silence. Marble steps led to doors that didn't creak. Men with no names watched her pass. At the end of a narrow corridor, Mycroft stood by a fireless hearth, his back straight, hands behind him, face unreadable. "You're late," he said, not turning. "You're cryptic," Evelyn replied. He smirked, not quite a smile, then handed her a file. "A diplomat's wife has vanished. Disappeared from a moving yacht without witness or note." She opened the file. Empty photos, sparse facts. A list of guests, wealthy, titled, untouchable. And Juliet Renner, the woman in question, described in one line, graceful, educated, politically inconvenient. "And what do you expect from me, Mycroft? To see what I can't." Juliet Renner, born in Lyon, fluent in 5 languages, married to Ambassador Henri Renner, known for lavish events and strategic silences. She vanished during a midnight cruise on the Thames. No one saw her leave. No one heard a splash. The staff was loyal, too loyal, their statements too perfect. Therefore, the official report remained blank, and Mycroft, for once, unsettled. "You're my last option, Evelyn. Then let me work. Alone." He nodded, though she knew it cost him. Evelyn arrived at the yacht before sunrise. The fog still clung to the deck like ghost's breath. She moved slowly, notebook open, gloves on. The lounge was undisturbed, too undisturbed. Velvet pillows arranged too precisely. On the tea table, a chipped porcelain cup, faint red lipstick on the rim. She noted the initials, J.R. Then a scent drifted up, sweet, sad, and oddly familiar. Violets. She followed it to a cabinet. Behind cut crystal glasses, a single glove, ivory lace. Too fine for a maid. Too careless for a diplomat's wife. A piece of music still rested on the piano. Claire de Lune. Not played, but placed. Therefore, this wasn't a disappearance. It was a performance. In his dim-lit office, Mycroft skimmed her notes. "Perfume, tea stains, a glove. You're chasing ghosts, Evelyn." "I'm listening to the ones you're ignoring." "The political cost of false accusation is high." "And the cost of silence?" She stood. He stayed seated, but his fingers stopped moving. "You were always reckless." "No, I just care about the names behind the facts." The silence held. Neither blinked. Then he handed her the yacht's guest list. "Try the Consulate tonight." A truce. Thin as parchment. Evening brought lanterns, champagne, and laughter that didn't touch the eyes. Evelyn wore navy silk and quiet shoes. She moved like shadow. She watched Lady Sorrel, tall, commanding, eyes like winter glass. Her glances at the footman were sharp, her smile too controlled. He handed her a book, Les Fleurs du Mal. Evelyn followed them to the conservatory. "Strange choice for a gift," she said aloud. They turned. Lady Sorrel clutched the book tightly. Juliet adored poetry, Evelyn continued, especially lines about escape. "How curious," Sorrel replied. "She never seemed the type." The footman flinched. Evelyn saw fear, not guilt. That was something. At midnight, Evelyn returned to the yacht, alone. The crew was gone. Only the water whispered. She entered the study with a locksmith's grace. Books lined the walls, untouched. But the third drawer jammed. Inside, ledgers, invitations, and a diary. Juliet's. Written in hurried French, full of dread. "Sorrel watches me. I pretend not to see. I fear the next party will be my last. If this disappears, I did not choose to leave." Therefore, Juliet didn't flee. She was taken. And someone wanted her story buried beneath velvet and wine. She stormed into Mycroft's chamber, placed the diary before him. She predicted her disappearance. In writing. He read slowly. The fire crackled. His brow furrowed. "This will shatter alliances." "It will save a life." They stood inches apart, one fueled by calculation, the other by conscience. Then, a pause. Mycroft whispered, "What would Sherlock have done?" Evelyn smiled sadly. "He would have seen her." The next morning, Evelyn returned to the Consulate. Lady Sorrel hosted a brunch. Champagne sparkled, dresses rustled. But Evelyn watched hands. Sorrel reached for a napkin. A bruise revealed itself, subtle, damning. And violets again, clinging to her scarf. Evelyn leaned in. "You never expected her to write it down, did you?" No answer. Just the stillness of a woman who knew the walls were closing in. In a cellar beneath the embassy wine vaults, Juliet Renner sat on a crate, weak but unbroken. Guards found her after Evelyn delivered coordinates. Mycroft approved without fanfare. Juliet's voice was raw. She said if I embarrassed them, they'd silence me. "You're safe now, and heard." Evelyn helped her into the daylight. The rain returned to Baker Street. Evelyn sat with tea. A note arrived with no messenger. "You were right. M.H." Beneath it, a single pressed violet. She placed it in her journal beside Juliet's name. Some cases ended in headlines, others in healing. Thank you for listening to tonight's mystery. Tell me, when facts and feeling collide, which do you follow? Leave a comment and remember, not all detectives carry magnifying glasses. Some carry empathy.